Hello there, and welcome back. Welcome back to another episode of the Mind and Muse Crafts podcast. I am your host, as usual, Caroline, and I am here again recording from my home in Aguada, Puerto Rico, which is a small town on the western side of the island where I live with my husband. Welcome back. I did say welcome back, so welcome to those of you who are returning viewers of this channel, faithful as always and willing to have a chat with me and find out what I've been up to. But also welcome to those of you who decided just today, for who knows whatever reason, to press that watch button and give us a try. We come here normally every 2 weeks, so I'm very much late from my original recording plan, but I'll let you know why in a minute. And so, I come here every once in a while to share with you what I call the crafty side of my life, which is the part of my life that I spend crafting, which may include crocheting, it could be some knitting, there could be some felting, or as we'll see as of late, even some yarn painting that I recently picked up. So thank you once again for joining me, and let's get on with it. As usual, the first segment of my recordings usually includes a brief description of how I use on a day-to-day basis some of the items that you see that I share with you here on this channel. So I'm sharing with you today the blouse, which is a crochet top. It is a crochet linen top. So this is the crossed stitch top that I made a long time back. I don't remember exactly when, but I do remember that it was a paid-for pattern that I obtained from darngoodyarns.com. And I don't know if it's still there, if they still have it posted, but that's where I got it from. And it is made with linen, with the sport weight linen from Quince Co Sparrow. I believe I used 3 different colors. It's a small, medium top, and so yes, it's. I can put up a photo here of me wearing it in a more centralized position so that you can remember it if you've been here for a while, or you can look it up in one of my past videos. So in the description box below, as usual, I will put links to patterns or yarns or sites that I mentioned here. And so I'll include a link to where I got the pattern from, if it's still working, still a working link, and also maybe a link to the first episode where I actually talked about this top. And I think that is going to be, I'll check here for a moment, but it appears to be back in 2019, around episode 30, 31, 32. And so, you can go back and take a look at that if you want any more details on this make. But I am accompanying this crochet top with a pair of crochet earrings. And these crochet earrings, I don't know if I presented them to you a while back. I actually made them, I believe, when I was at my daughter's house in June. She had some yarn that she had purchased for me and brought in from Japan, and it was a lace weight cotton. I can't remember right now if it was a cotton blend or 100% mercerized cotton or something like that. But it was a sturdy enough cotton that I could use to make earrings with. And we were getting close to Granny Square Day and all of its celebrations. And honestly, the episode that went up on August the 15th, I totally forgot to share these earrings with you. And they are, I guess I could call them a pair of granny square earrings, and they are based on a pattern simply that I found in one of those late night browsings through Pinterest, and it was placed as a chart, which I can also link down below if anyone is interested. And so I think the only thing that I did different was at the end I went around the earrings with the crab stitch, and so kind of tried to give it a little bit more structure in at the edges so that it wouldn't curl when I tried to stiffen it, let's say with glue, which is what I normally use. But I'm thinking that I could probably put, since I did the crab edge stitching, the crab stitch for the edging, I'm pretty sure that I could go around the edge underneath the crab stitch with a wire maybe, and make it a little bit, make it sturdy enough so it doesn't need to be stiffened. If you just, this last crab stitch, you crochet around a diamond shape, let's say, of type of frame, and you could probably get that. But I do, you know that I do like my crochet earrings. And for this one, because I ended in the crab stitch border, the border was kind of thick, so I couldn't fit in my normal fish hooks that I tend to share among my earrings, because these are easy just to take off. These are called actually kidney wires, not fish hooks, I'm sorry. My kidney wires. And so this is a bit larger than the ones that I normally use. But since, as I said, the edge is thicker, then I just went through the hole that the granny stitch leaves in the corners. And because the earring is big enough, it actually, the wire actually doesn't look like it's hanging too long. And I actually do like the way it looks. And so, you know that I do enjoy my crochet earrings, and I have a variety of them already, and I try to alter them and use them so they all get a little bit of love, but I keep seeing more and I keep wanting to make more. So yeah, as I've said always, it's a simple make that will take you a couple of hours, and you'll have at least that satisfaction of having completed something. If you're looking for a palette cleanser in between projects, I think crochet earrings might be what you're looking for. Short, well, simple or difficult depending on how complicated you look the pattern up, but easy to find. You can always find free patterns on the internet, and they give you almost immediate satisfaction. Okay, so that was Walking the Talk. And that's the outfit that I have put together for you today. Continuing then, the first thing I wanted to share with you was my completed, but totally completed, Galaxy of Change project, the project that I had worked on for the Summer of Romance Cal, based on the books, or actually the series by Lois McMaster Dujold, and there were maybe 17, 18 books that I've completed listening to the whole series, and I was very sad when it was over because I had gotten so used to the characters and so used to the author's style, in addition to the voice of the reader. So I've gone back and I've started listening all over again, and you know, you pick up details that you lost, so you just remember phrases that you think are worth keeping around to repeat in the future. And it was a marvelous experience, and so I wanted to show you how I completed this. I'll step aside for a minute and I'll be back. Okay, so I don't know if you will be able to see this, but if not, I will put up maybe a video of the room where I have finally placed it. So what you'll notice here is that I found these, I think they're called, well, here it doesn't have a name, but looking them up on the internet, I think they were called adjustable hula hoops because you can adjust the size depending on how many of these segments you attach. And so initially I thought that they bring 8. They bring 8. So initially I thought that with one package, it would work okay. The interesting thing was that originally I saw this on Amazon. And on Amazon, it was $14.99, something like that, to have it sent, shipping including because I'm a Prime member, but have it sent to my address. You know, because we got used to COVID and not going out and not having to go shopping to the stores. You know, when you're looking for something quick, you look it up on Amazon and have it sent to your house. You even forget about it by the time it gets there. But anyway, I'm glad I didn't do that because I think it was right before my grandson came to celebrate his birthday. I was shopping around for something that I could use as a small bathtub for him to bathe in when he stayed at my house. And I found at the toy shop, actually it wasn't a toy shop, I found at the dollar stores where I found this. I found this at the dollar store for 99 cents. For 99 cents. I wasn't smart enough at that moment to pick up 2 because once I put them all together, I found that one of these wasn't going to be enough. I was going to need one more segment in order to actually fit the wall art, which was probably maybe on a diameter of 24 inches, something like that. So I bought another package and I used only one of them, but I figured the 7 that are left, you can, if you plan before, not after like I do, if you act instead of reacting like I normally do, you can put these 7 together, find out the diameter, and create a wall art that will fit within this diameter, and I can have something else either to gift or to have on my wall. Now, it's not maybe the perfect solution because of the fact that that is plastic. It's a bit flimsy. So my fear was that as I hang it by this, it's not completely round. It's a bit oblong because the weight kind of stretches out on the plastic. But I think it stayed circular enough for me to appreciate it. And yeah, I see it on my wall all the time, and it reminds me of the series, the complete series, because these 2 characters are in the series almost until the end. And so, yeah, there's another use for doily patterns if you have a liking for them. And this one is actually a pattern by Frank. Is it Orandel is his last name, Frank Orandel. The first part of it, the part that I use, the mini Galaxy of Change, is free on Ravelry. You can look for it and download it. The complete version is like for making a rug or something much larger than this, and that one is a paid-for pattern. But this first part is there, and as I have said before, so yes, I think doilies can make very nice wall arts. And you can, changing the colors, maybe changing the stitch a little bit, instead of using a single crochet, or instead of using a double crochet at some point, using a bobble or whatever. You can do things to those patterns without having to redo too much of the math and make something stunning, like I did. So once I had the hula hoop size that I wanted, what I ended up doing was creating a sort of sleeve out of black fabric that I had around here somewhere. And so it was all hand sewn. I created the sleeve, I put the hoop through it, and then I added one last round to my wall art. And on every one of these peaks here, I chained 2 and then did a final single crochet around the hoop and back into the fabric. so that I would kind of like get a stronger hold. And so that was the last round that I added to this in black so that I could support it, and with support it with that hula hoop and like have it stay in place. And it worked out. It worked out for me. So if that is something that, there were some metal hoops that I could have gotten on Amazon that they sell exactly for this purpose to crochet around. And some people commented that they use them for their wall arts, but still they were a lot more expensive than that 99-cent hula hoop. And when you're on a budget, well, you can still make nice things. You just, choose wisely. Okay, so that was just the finishing touch to that project that I wanted to show you because it wasn't hanging anywhere the last time I shared it with you. Next, then, I want to share with you a new art, a new craft that I picked up, trying to cleanse my palette after working on all these projects, these large projects this summer. And so all the garments, right? I wanted, actually, I don't know if you remember, if you've been here for a while, you will remember, the messenger bag that I was adding panels of crochet or freeform crochet to in maybe a couple of months back. And so I still wanted to do one of the inside panels, and I had thought that I was going to make it in a blue jay scene. And so I used my app, the DaVinci app, where you actually project what's on your camera screen to paper, or it could be, fabric or any form of a material onto which you can draw, because you'll have the projection, make it a little bit opaque, and then be able to actually copy that drawing onto that fabric. And that can, gives you a lot of possibilities. You could freeform crochet because you have the shapes right there. So it's easy enough to see if you want to do like a surface crochet, or if you want to do some embroidery. It's easy enough to do it on the shape that's already on the fabric, for instance. I had copied mine onto paper because my idea was it started out being freeform crochet, but then I kind of I'm going to say I chickened out of it because this drawing was a bit smaller than the red carpenter drawing that I had done. And so it was going to be a lot more challenging for the freeform crochet. So then my next thought was, well, I'm going to make a tapestry the size of the panel that I want, and I am going to then just sew that panel to my messenger bag. That sounded okay, except that when I actually went to do it, I don't know, I just could not. It's still a skill that I am missing. I could not get the stitch fiddle tapestry to be the size that I wanted. The gauge just had to be too small. The gauge just had to be too tiny. Maybe like crocheting with thread, with sewing thread or something. It just wasn't practical to try and do it that way. And I guess it's because it actually depends. I'm starting out with a photo. I'm not hand drawing it myself. Probably if I were hand drawing it myself, I could do a little better with this. But there's still things to learn in life, and let me just clarify that. I'm not giving up on the idea. It's just something else that I have to learn. But if you take a photo and you import it into Stitch Fiddle, the photo goes into Stitch Fiddle with the resolution, the amount of pixels that the original photo has. And it doesn't matter how much you crop that, it always turns out to be more or less the same size. The size is based on the resolution, the amount of detail that your photo has. Now, I have yet to play around with taking my photo into a photo editor and lowering the resolution, the amount of pixels, and, you know, taking away from the detail. I did try it with a sketch. And I said, well, I'll take the sketch into Stitch Fiddle, and then I'll color in the sketch by hand. But it was still the same size. I couldn't get it to be the size that I needed it. So I gave up on that idea. And in my frustration, I started, one of those midnight searches through Pinterest. This one was on Instagram. I saw for the first time in my feed a recommendation from Instagram. So they're not all bad. The recommendation was a feed from a yarn painting artist, an artist who actually paints with yarn. So this paint by number thing that I normally do, instead of doing it by crocheting into the different shapes or crocheting the different shapes and then joining them together, this artist actually takes a sketch and fills in the spaces with actually the yarn. And I'll show you what I mean. I have a video that I made at the very beginning of the process when I was just trying out this idea, and I shared it on Instagram. I can share it on here for those of you that haven't seen it. It's not very long, just a couple of seconds, so that you can see what I mean by taking the painting, putting down some glue, and actually taking the yarn and filling in the spaces. As you can see from the video that I presented, I was using some tools that I have abandoned. I never use DPNs for anything. It's not a skill that I have picked up yet. And I also already have my favorite crochet hooks. So those older hooks that were steel or, well, some form of metal, that are very, very thin, I don't use them because I use my ergonomics where the hook is small, but they have a handle, or a neck long enough for me to have something to grip on, and also thick enough so that gripping it is not uncomfortable. So those other ones have been abandoned. I still have them all around there in mugs that I would then gift them from different places and have no other use for. I put all my pencils and my pens and my crochet hooks that I don't use into them. And so I found a use for them. I also tried, and some of these sites, which I will put in the description box below, so you can also take a look at them if you want to, they were using something sort of like a seam ripper. I didn't find any of the tools exceptionally helpful because they all get glue on them, and every once in a while I'll have filled in all the yarn on a segment and lift up whatever tool I'm using, and it will pull and rip out all of the yarn that I just spent a couple of minutes trying to glue in. So yes, I believe there are some strategies and techniques that I have not yet acquired. But I want to show you how my bluebird looks. So that's my finished yarn painting. I haven't crocheted anything here. I've taken all the segments and filled them in as much as I could with yarn. Now, you'll see that I'm a novice. You can tell because there's still a lot of gaps here where I think it was more of the impatience, wanting to do too much at once. And this is something where you can't. You need to fill in a small part of the gap and kind of like let that dry up a bit, because glue gets stickier when it's a bit dry, and that way you can push the edges of the yarn together and they'll fill up the gaps better than if you try and do everything when it's wet. So you do a little bit there, let it go somewhere else, do a little bit there, let it go somewhere else, do a little bit there, let it go back to the first one, and then push things together. And well, you know, those are just some things that I learned along the way as I was doing it, trying to, you know, fill in my gaps better. There's also this I saw in some of the videos that were on the feeds that I mentioned, where yes, they do try and incorporate some of these swirly bits. Kind of makes this look more of an abstract painting, because getting the actual shapes of the leaves was, well, I thought it was going to be more time consuming, and this was just something that I was trying to do to cleanse a palette. I didn't even know if I was going to finish it or not, and so I wasn't actually putting my heart into it to try and learn as much as possible. I did want it to look nice, but since I have this paper. This is just printer paper. I had no intention of actually doing this painting on top of this paper. If I had the intention, I would have used sketch paper with all the sketchbooks that I have around here. But that wasn't my intention. My intention was to, actually at one point my intention was to take this now and sew it onto the inner panel of my messenger bag. But then I got to thinking that I was just using Elmer's school glue. I wasn't using a waterproof glue. So if I ever had to wash that bag, this would probably have come apart. And so I decided, no, I'm just going to frame it, and I am going to put it up on the wall, and I am not going to use it as my original idea, part of that messenger bag. I'll make another one. But it is an interesting art that I'm pretty sure that with practice you can get better at it. All of this was Aunt Lydia's number 3, except this one that was Aunt Lydia's number 10, and I tried to use 2 together, and that got messy. That wasn't a good choice. But I also realized that some of these are mercerized cotton, and some of them are just 100% cotton that hasn't been mercerized. And the mercerized cotton sticks better, I don't know why, than just the regular cotton. Your thread, whatever the thread you're using, is always going to absorb some of the glue. So yeah, that is, you need to measure the amount of glue that you're using, and kind of like, after doing it for a while, understand actually the amount of glue that I can use to make this work for me. But yeah, there's still a lot of learning to do. But if you look it up on the internet or even on Instagram, it's just yarn painting or painting with yarn. And yeah, it was a way that you can use up some extra yarn, and you can make this as abstract as you want to. You don't need to do like I do and just use solid colors. This could have been like a very abstract bird if I had wanted it to be. And so, but from a distance, it doesn't look too bad. And I figured that probably I can go in and fill in these spaces that are here. This is paper on the back, so I could probably paint over this so that you don't see the holes in it. Yeah. So once I got done with my palette cleanser, I kind of went back to crochet because there's so much yarn around here and it needs to be used up. So I've been thinking about for a while to go down the rabbit hole for the granny hexagon cardigan. And I thought I had more yarn than I actually had to be able to work this project. So I ended up purchasing more yarn, unfortunately, which is not something that I wanted to do. But I want to get this done. So, whoops. If you haven't seen the hexagon cardigan, it doesn't have to be granny stitch. It could be just a regular solid hexagon. But they were just all over the interweb this summer, or for the last couple of months at least. So, well, for example, this photo is available, but it really doesn't tell you much about the cardigan construction, aside from the fact that it has long sleeve, that it's a fairly long cardigan, that it's got a hood, etc. You can't really see the hexagon there. So let me see if I can get a better look. I think that actually, I don't think that on any of the photos that she's included here you can see, but here's the hexagon. It comes down the sleeve, goes under the sleeve, comes down the body, and goes to the back and as well to the front. So it's not exactly a flat hexagon. The hexagon kind of looks like this. It's not flat. You can't lay it flat and don't feel that you're doing anything wrong when it's not flat, but you can fold it in a certain way, because if you fold it the wrong way, it's not going to make much sense to you. But if you fold it this way, you can see how that hexagon became the sleeve, the front, and the back panel. Well, half of the front and half of the back panel of your cardigan. Okay, so I have done 2 of those. Well, almost 2. I ran out of yarn on the second one. I ran out of yarn on this one. I couldn't go all the way around the last round. But I believe that here I have 13 rounds. Well, on this one, I don't, because I didn't complete the last round, but on the other one that's complete, I have 13 rounds. So the idea now would be to stitch the shoulder seams together and stitch the back panels together. See? And already if you did that, you've got a simple bolero. And believe me, it was simple. I don't know who was the first one to present this idea of using that curvy hexagon to create the bottom half, the side half of the front panel, half of the sleeve panel, half of the back panel, and the other half of the sleeve panel by using a hexagon. You can make the hexagon as big as you like, and it will just make a more oversized version, right? And the smaller you make your hexagon, the closer to your body the cardigan will fit. The larger you make it, the more of an oversized fit it will have. You can see both versions. There are ways in which once you have, let's say, the arm length, once the side of your hexagon is the arm length that you are looking for, then you can simply continue to work around 3 sides of the hexagon, which would probably be the front panel, the bottom side, and the back panel. And instead of working in the round, you could go back and forth there and continue to add to the length and the width of your cardigan without adding to the sleeve width, which is, can get humongous if you continue to work around all 5 sides. Now, you can see, I'll give you an example of one that I saw that did that. I believe it's by Hobby Yarn or hobby.com. It's called the Horizon cardigan, hobby.com. And this is what their cardigan looks like. So you'll notice that they added cuffs to the sleeve and they added buttons to the front. It's not letting me do that. So they added buttons to the front. Basically, the Make and Do crew, they simply added a border around the front panels, and then at the back panels, they added a hood, which this one doesn't have. And so this is on hold until I get more yarn. My eldest daughter saw it and sent me a link to a version that I had already seen, but I guess she was telling me that she liked it. It was a version that had the sides were different color schemes, and then in between the two back panels, they had a column of granny squares. I think they had flowered granny squares. So it was, quite a project to look at. But she said, I don't know if I would like the different color schemes, but I like the idea of the cardigan. So I was actually doing this as a test to see if maybe I had another yarn that I could use to make her one of these as a Christmas present or a birthday present that she has coming up. But I got stuck. I couldn't do my test because I didn't have enough yarn. And fine. So that is my beginning of the hexagon cardigan, and we'll see how it ends because it all depends on when I receive that yarn, which can or cannot happen soon. Amazon does not have 2-day delivery to Puerto Rico. They usually give you a time frame between 7 working days. 7 to 10 working days is usually the time limit that they give us. So there's one more thing that I was working on in a very tiny sense, but I'm not going to show the bit that I worked on because it's just 2 rows of this pattern. But I can show it to you I think what I'm going to show you is a bit better. My son-in-law, a while back, probably a year ago now, or maybe who knows, asked me if I thought I could make a pair of hibiscus flower wall art that he could add alongside of the La Garita wall art that I had made for him a while back. So I brought in a sketch instead, and this is what it looks like. That's what it looks like. And I thought that looked enough like what I wanted. I decided that I was going to purchase the yarn for this, so I told the stitch fiddle that I would be using sheep years, or sheep years, however authentic you want it to sound. Doesn't matter how I say it, it's not going to sound authentic, so I'm just going to say sheep years, which is what I normally do, and Katona. The sheep years Katona. And so I purchased more colors than I needed because there was one color that I could not find, and that was number 252, which is the Katona watermelon. So in the end, after a long amount of looking and trying to, I switched the yarns that I had purchased. None of them looked right. I just ended up switching the colors a little bit so that it didn't look that bad. So that is one project that I only have 2 rows on, because working with even those 9 or 10 colors is a pain. The starting out is a pain. And this is done with enough details, so every once in a while I'll just have one color change or 2 stitches in a color and then move on to something else. But they're all connected right now. all of the colors are connected. And I figure if I just work 1 or 2 rows a day, it'll be okay, I hope, between now and Christmas. So, yeah, we're starting on those projects also. Those Christmas projects are also in the planning. So, this is what I've been up to. I fell behind on my programming schedule because when I came back from my last visit to Alabama, well, we had the baby's birthday, and in between coming back and the baby's birthday, I had gone in for my annual physical checkup, and for the baby's birthday, I hadn't gotten the results back yet. But after the baby left, he had his wonderful birthday. They rented a house, an Airbnb that had a pool, and that's the only place where he wanted to be. And it was just like nobody was doing anything. Nobody was paying attention to this child except making sure he didn't jump into that pool, which is what he wanted to do. He wanted to be in the water all the time. So, yeah, but it was very hot, and he really does not like the heat, so he wanted to be in the water all the time. And so yeah, they went back home. I had got the results from my medical checkup, and the results were not, well, as good as I expected. They discovered a very serious medical problem that I have to have treated as soon as possible. Well, as soon as I can here on the island, because on this island, nothing happens quickly, especially nothing that has to do with getting medical attention. So I've been over the past couple of weeks and in and out of testing and trying to find doctors who will treat what I have, and a surgery is required, so I need to do some tests before that. I need to find somebody who's willing to do that surgery, and it's just been, and it's not going to be any better. That's actually what I wanted to say. It's not it's going to be a bad time for me for the next maybe couple of months. So I don't know how I'm going to be, complying with these updates. It's why I fell behind now, and probably why I will continue to fall behind in the future. For example, for the 15th of September, I am going to be in and out of doctor's appointments, so I probably won't be able to give you much of an update. And then we had planned the trip to Iceland, and you all know that we've been talking about this trip forever, and I've made a couple of sweaters and all that we now do not know if we'll be able to make. But if I can make that trip, then I won't be here to give you an update either. So at any rate, I wanted to get this out now because I don't know what the next couple of months are going to look like for me. So I'm crossing my fingers. I mean, that, what looks bad now might not be as bad later on. But yeah, I just wanted to give you kind of, let's say, this, I'm not going to say final or last, but this update, which there won't be another one for a while, I am sure. I mean, I'm going to try, to get it in. It's something that keeps my mind busy and all that. But I don't know that I'll be able to. Physically, I don't know where I'll be, and all those types of things. So, yeah. I just wanted to make sure that I didn't disappear from YouTube and Instagram and all that without those of you that have been around here consistently and continuously with me, at least give you an explanation of, what you can expect over the next couple of months. So that's the way it's going to be. I don't know if I'll be here at the end of the month. I don't know if I'll be here at the beginning of October, in the middle of October. I don't know. I might miss my Halloween update, but I'll try and do as best I can in between all of the messiness. So until we meet again, while I'm getting all this done, you remember to get all your stuff done, to take care of yourselves, to keep yourself as healthy as you can, to keep yourself as happy as you can, and to do your crafting as much as you can. So until we meet again, bye for now and take care.